Level 1. The Nobody. You're 26. You have a degree that didn't open any doors, and a job at a logistics company that pays just enough to remind you how broke you are. The debt isn't dramatic. No gambling addiction, no stolen money. Just rent, a car payment, a medical bill from the ER visit you couldn't afford but couldn't avoid. Life doing what life does, grinding you down slowly enough that you almost don't notice. Be sure to subscribe and like. Enjoy watching. The man at the bar is not what you imagined. He's not tattooed. He's not loud. He wears a jacket that looks like it cost more than your monthly salary, and he drinks water. He knows a guy you used to work with. He says he has something simple. He needs a person to stand outside a restaurant on Thursday night. Just stand there. Be visible. Make sure a certain someone sees that someone is watching. No touching, no talking, no weapons. $200 cash for 40 minutes of your time. You say yes. You tell yourself it's nothing. Thursday comes. You stand on the sidewalk in the cold. A man in a gray coat walks out of the restaurant, sees you, and stops. Something crosses his face. Not fear exactly, but recognition. Like he suddenly understands something. He turns around and goes back inside. You wait 40 minutes and leave. The envelope with the cash is in your jacket pocket before you reach the subway. That night, you order food you couldn't afford last week and tell yourself this was a one-time thing. It was easy. No one got hurt. You were just a body in the right place at the right time. What you don't understand yet is that someone was watching you, too, the whole time. They weren't watching the man in the gray coat. They were watching how you stood, how you handled the cold, whether you hesitated, whether you looked nervous. You passed a test you didn't know you were taking. 2 weeks later, the phone rings again. Level 2. The Apprentice. You are not a criminal. That's what you keep telling yourself. You're just someone who runs errands for people who don't ask questions and pay in cash. You shadow a man through a shopping mall for 4 hours and report back where he went and who he spoke to. You drop a sealed envelope through a mail slot at 2 in the morning. You sit in a parked car outside an office building and text a single word, clear, when the last light goes off on the 3rd floor. Nobody gets hurt. You're just logistics. You're just eyes. But you're learning things nobody teaches you in any classroom. You learn how to walk into a room and immediately find the 2 exits. You learn that people who are lying always look at the person they're lying to slightly longer than normal because they're checking if it's working. You learn that the most dangerous man in any room is almost never the biggest one. You learn to notice what people are wearing on their wrists. Watches tell you more about a person than their face does. These are not things someone told you. You figured them out by watching, by surviving small situations that could have gone wrong. The people above you are not violent in the way movies suggest. There's no yelling, no threats delivered with a gun on the table. It's quieter than that. There's a tone, a pause before someone answers your question, a look exchanged between 2 people that you were not supposed to catch. You learn to read these signals the way other people read weather. You know when something is about to shift before it shifts. You have a handler now. You don't call him that, but that's what he is. He's maybe 15 years older than you. He texts you locations and times, and sometimes just an address and nothing else. You go. You do what needs to be done. You come back. He never explains the purpose of what you're doing, and you've learned not to ask. Understanding the full picture is not your job. Your job is the piece in front of you. You haven't seen a body. You haven't held a weapon. You haven't been asked to do anything you could go to prison for, or at least nothing you could be proven to have done. But you know what's happening around you. You've known for a while. You watch a man get into a car that drives away and never comes back to the neighborhood. You don't ask. You already know. The difference between who you were a year ago and who you are now is not what you've done. It's what you've accepted. And that is a much larger distance than it sounds. Level 3. The cleaner. There is a specific kind of silence that exists in a parking garage at 3 in the morning. Not peaceful, not empty. It's a held breath kind of silence, the kind that has weight to it. You're standing next to a dark sedan with a burner phone in your hand and a very specific set of instructions that you've already memorized and deleted. Your job tonight is simple. You watch the entrance of the building across the street. When the light on the 4th floor goes off, you text a single number. That's it. That's all you do. You tell yourself that you're not doing anything. You're observing. You're communicating. What happens after your message is sent is not your responsibility, not your decision, not your action. You are a wire in a circuit. You're not the electricity. Except you know what the electricity is. You've known for 2 weeks, since the moment they explained the job with the kind of calm precision that made your hands go cold. A target, a window, a specific night. Your role? The signal. The light goes off at 3:47. You send the message. You hear nothing. There is no sound from across the street, no commotion, no sirens. You wait 11 minutes exactly as instructed. Then you get in the sedan and drive it to an address in the industrial part of the city where a man in coveralls takes the keys without making eye contact. You walk 6 blocks to a parked bicycle. You ride the bicycle to a transit stop. You take the train home. The next morning you read the news the way you used to read it, scrolling past things that didn't concern you. Except now, one of them does. A brief article. A name. A building on a street you were parked outside of 8 hours ago. Natural causes, the article says. Or that's what some sources suggest. Others say nothing at all. You make coffee. You sit at your kitchen table. You're not shaking. That's the thing that surprises you the most. You thought you would be shaking. Instead, you feel something worse. Almost nothing. A kind of blankness where emotion should be. You try to locate guilt and find it somewhere, but it's muffled, like a sound coming from another room. You think about the face of a person you never saw and try to feel the weight of that. Some of it lands. Most of it doesn't. You are not a killer. That's still technically true. You will keep telling yourself that for longer than you should. But something shifted last night in a parking garage, in the silence, in the moment you pressed send. Something that does not shift back. Level 4. The professional. You have rules. That's what separates you from the people you've read about in crime reports, from the ones who end up caught because they were sloppy or emotional or greedy in the wrong direction. Your rules are not written down anywhere. They exist in your behavior, in your habits, in the decisions you make before a job even begins. You never work in the city where you live. You never use the same method twice in the same country. You never meet a client directly. There is always a layer between you and the money, and another layer between you and the reason. You prefer it that way. Understanding the reason makes it personal. Personal makes you slow. You are 34 years old. Your neighbors think you consult for supply chain companies. This is true in the sense that you have a website, a business registration, and occasionally you actually respond to emails about logistics contracts. The cover is not elaborate. Elaborate covers attract scrutiny. Simple, boring, slightly vague, that's what works. Nobody asks questions about a person who seems mildly successful and mildly dull. The work comes through a chain of contacts that operates with the kind of discipline most corporations don't have. A message arrives through an encrypted channel. A meeting is proposed, always in public, always somewhere you chose, never somewhere you were directed to. A figure is discussed, terms are established. You ask 3 questions: timeline, access, and exit parameters. You don't ask why. You were told once, early on, that knowing why was how people ended up making mistakes. Sympathy moves one way, contempt moves another. Neither serves you. You've done this 11 times in 6 years. You know the number exactly. You don't allow yourself to forget the number because forgetting feels like permission, and you have given yourself very little of that. The rules are the only structure in a life that has no other structure. No family nearby. No close friends. Not because you're incapable, but because proximity to people you care about creates risk in both directions. You are not a cold person. You have just rerouted the warmth somewhere it can't do damage. Some nights you watch the news and a name appears that you know, and you feel something that isn't quite grief and isn't quite pride. More like recognition. Like spotting your own handwriting in a book you forgot you wrote. You change the channel. You eat dinner. You go to sleep at the same time every night because routine is the thing that keeps the mind from wandering into places that can't help you. You are very good at what you do. You are also beginning to understand that being good at something and being able to stop doing it are two completely separate problems. Level 5. The Ghost. Here is what nobody tells you about wanting out. It is not a decision you make once. It is a decision you make every morning for years. And most mornings, the weight of everything you know, everyone who knows what you know, and every reason you cannot simply disappear keeps you exactly where you are. The door is never locked, but the hallway behind you is. Going back to the person you were before is not an option. That person no longer exists in any document, in any relationship, in any mirror. You look and you see someone else entirely. Someone who has been useful. Someone who has been used. You are 41 years old. You have money in places that money doesn't officially exist. You have a passport that belongs to a person who has never lived, but whose history is meticulous. School records, a dental file, 3 years of tax returns. You have spent the last 15 years becoming someone who cannot be found, and in doing so, you have made yourself invisible to everyone, including the people who might have loved you if you had let them stay close enough to try. The decision to stop comes not from morality. You made your peace with the morality question a long time ago, in a way that is difficult to explain to anyone who hasn't been where you've been. It comes from exhaustion. Not the physical kind, the other kind. The kind that lives in the part of you that used to react to things and now simply records them. You notice that you have stopped dreaming. Not nightmares. You expected those, and they came, and then they left. Just nothing. 8 hours of black, and then morning. You're not sure which is worse. You make arrangements. You sever the remaining connections in the chain, carefully, one at a time, in a sequence that creates no pattern and triggers no alarm. This takes 14 months. You are methodical about it, the way you have been methodical about everything. You move to a country where no one knows your names, any of them. You rent a house near water. You learn to cook. You grow something in a garden, which sounds absurd given everything, but there it is. Some mornings are fine. Some mornings you sit at the window and inventory the things that cannot be put back. People are on that list. Versions of yourself are on that list. The life you might have had if a man in an expensive jacket hadn't sat down at a bar 20 years ago, that's on the list too. You are not in prison. You are not dead. By the measures of this world you chose, that counts as a good outcome. You carry what you carry. You will carry it until you don't. And somewhere right now, in a bar that smells like smoke and cheap beer, someone is being asked a very simple question for a very small amount of money. And they are saying yes.